Okay, you are live.
Thank you, Christina. Welcome and good evening to the April 13th, 2022 Parks and Community Services Commission meeting. Christy, will you conduct our roll call and make announcements, please?
Absolutely. Before I take roll, let me note for the record, Assembly Bill 361 suspends certain provisions of the Brown Act, allowing public meetings like this one to be held by teleconference to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. At this time, I will conduct roll call and afterwards confirm certain matters for the record. Commissioner Dorlick.
Present.
Commissioner Breen.
Present.
Commissioner Mitra.
Present.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Present.
Commissioner Ellicott Pesek.
Present.
Student Commissioner Fenimalo.
Present.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee.
Here.
And Chair Oslin.
Present.
Thank you. Based on the responses to the roll call, the record should reflect that all committee members can hear the proceedings clearly. Seeing no objection, I will turn the meeting back over to the chair with a reminder that all votes must be taken by roll call. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Christy. Would you also lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, let me bring up my flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. Item 4, special items and announcements. 4.1, we have a temporary employee of the month for March. We're going to receive a presentation by James Spielvogel, Facilities Coordinator, about Jesse Remington. James, are you here? There you are. Hi, James.
Hello everyone. Really appreciate this opportunity to talk about one of my staff members. I am James Spielvogel. I'm a Facilities Coordinator for the Parks and Community Services Department. I would like to take this time to recognize part-time staff member Jesse Remington. Jesse is an invaluable employee to the Facilities Division within the Parks and Community Services Department. Jesse works weekends as a building attendant too, providing facility oversight and event execution. He also works as a program assistant for rental inquiries as well as site coverage at the Alcosta Senior and Community Center. Jesse went above and beyond during an average church shift on March 20th. There were 3 events going on at the same time at the San Ramon Community Center that required much more assistance than originally anticipated. Jesse coordinated with other staff members working at nearby facilities in order to get the assistance he needed to complete the reservation setups. This kind of action doesn't go unnoticed from clients and full-time staff members. Noticing a problem is great, but finding a solution is tremendous. In addition to this, Jesse is the lead staff member at the Alcosta Senior and Community Center, where he consistently shows compassion and empathy when serving our senior patrons. The City of San Ramon would like to thank Jesse for his superior service throughout the San Ramon facilities. Unfortunately, Jesse is not here tonight, I'm sorry to say. He is visiting family in Utah, probably as he would have liked it. Yeah, if you all don't mind, recognizing him, he is an amazing assistant to me and the rest of the facilities division. He's much appreciated.
Great. Thank you so much, James, and congratulations, Jesse Remington. We appreciate your service and thank you for all your hard work and your empathy and understanding and compassion to our community members. And thank you for being part of our staff. We appreciate you. Sorry you can't be here.
Chair Oslin?
Yes.
What really resonated with me about this award was that the empathy and compassion with seniors. And I just wanted to make special note of that because we can build facilities for seniors and we can program for seniors, but it's really our people that make that difference in making seniors feel welcome and not isolated. So that for me really resonated. And I hope that that we express our appreciation to him for that, because that's really special.
Absolutely. And thank you for bringing that up, Vice Chair Keniston Lee. I couldn't agree more. So congratulations, Jesse Remington. We wish you were here and we very much appreciate you. All right. Moving on to item 4.2, special announcements. Kathy, do we have any special announcements this evening?
I do have just a couple of quick ones. I know that you're all aware, but I'd like to make sure everybody else that may be watching this meeting knows that the grand opening of the new Doherty Station Farmers Market is scheduled for May 1st. The market opens at 9 a.m., but we'll have a very special grapevine cutting, ribbon cutting at 10 a.m. So we'd love to see everybody come out and see the market and participate. It'll be out there every Sunday. So if you can't make it on May 1st, make plans to stop by and see it. It's also, as long as I'm talking about planting and vegetables and fruits, I wanted to make sure you are all aware of a program that the library is doing. It is planting season, and the library now has a seed catalog. So, and you're going to say, what? Well, they've taken an old card catalog container and they have seed packets. And you can go and get them. They're free and to the community. And they even have directions on how to start your own little gardens with vegetables, fruits, flowers. So check it out. That's at the San Ramon Main Library. On a scheduling point, next month's tour before the commission meeting will be of the Alcosta Senior and Community Center. So you could mark your calendars for that if you're interested in taking a tour of that facility. That will be prior to next month's meeting. And then we also do have a couple of more applicants for our committees. So Christy will be reaching out to see who might like to interview in the next couple of weeks. A couple of upcoming events you should be aware of this Saturday is Arbor Day in San Ramon. The City Council declared it so last night. And so to that end, we'll be having a tree planting at Forest Home Farm, along with our Parks Make Life Better Day to spruce up the farm. On 4/23, with a newly spruced up farm, Sheep Shearing Day is coming to San Ramon again, and that's put on by the San Ramon Historic Foundation. Don't want to miss that. And also on 4/23, our Library Foundation is hosting a jazz concert with the Hammond B3 Organ Summit. So lots of fun things going on in April. Hopefully you'll be able to participate. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. Lots of fun things to look forward to. Item 5, public comment or written communication. At this time, those in the audience are encouraged to address the Parks and Community Services Commission on any item not already included on tonight's agenda. Members of the public who are participating via Zoom will have the opportunity to make comments to the commission live through the Zoom application. Comments should not exceed 3 minutes. Do we have anyone in the audience, Christy, that has public comment?
We do. We have 9 in attendance, and we do have someone that would like to speak. So give me 1 moment. I will share my screen to bring up the timer. 1 moment. Speaker, this is your opportunity to talk.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay, so first of all, I want to thank you all for taking the time to appreciate our valuable employees. That way, the community also knows who are above and beyond for us. That is a very good way to show that we care. The next thing I want to address is, I don't know if any of you made it to the budget meeting yesterday. As the public, I was very concerned that almost all of the unfilled CIPs for our city, and they never mentioned what exactly CIP means, but from the meeting, I gathered that it is acronyms for projects that we want to do but don't have the money to do. And unfortunately, they all fall in Doherty Valley. And many of these projects fall in your department, such as tree management, also pedestrian enhancement, fountain repairs and replacement, cricket field. I'm wondering if this committee can please pay extra attention to make sure that these unfilled or unfunded projects may be taken care of in the near future, because residents here in Doherty Valley, we pay a lot of taxes, property taxes, and it's unfortunate politics played into the role of who has jurisdiction, who doesn't have jurisdiction, but we do pay taxes, and we should not be the ones who become the victims. So since you are in existence to advocate for the city, including the residents, I am voicing my opinion to ask you to please pay attention to these unfunded CIPs. Also, what you just mentioned about the farmers market and those activities, I feel that most people don't really know those activities unless they come to meetings like this. I'm not sure currently how you reach people, but if it's possible, can you guys please send notices via emails to people instead of like see those QR codes or social media? A lot of people like me who do have the money to spend, but don't really want to be in social media, don't get those news, and then you're the ones who are missing out because we're the ones with the money and we can spend. So please be kind enough to reach us by emails. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. We have no further public comment.
Okay, moving on to item 6, approval of the minutes. 6.1, Parks and Community Services Commission regular meeting of March 9th, 2022. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
Move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
Second it.
Is that Heidi and Will?
Yes,
Oh, Steve can have it. Steve can have it.
either one. That's fine.
Great. I'll put down Heidi and Steve Reed. Do roll call. Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Breed,
Approved.
Commissioner Mitra,
Approved.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
approve.
Commissioner Ellicott Pesic,
Yes.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee,
Aye.
Chair Oslin.
Aye.
Thank you. Passed.
Item 7, consent calendar. Do we have any items for the consent calendar this evening?
No, we
Seeing
do not.
none. And moving on to commission business, item 8. 8.1, update on the draft 5-year capital improvement program, the CIP 2022 to 2027. We're going to receive a presentation from Scott Renix, Division Manager, and recommendation is to receive the update this evening. So, hi, Scott, welcome.
Good evening, Chair Oslin, fellow commissioners. If I could share my screen. I assume you can all see that?
Yes, we can.
Excellent, thank you. Once again, good evening, everyone. I am here to present the annual update on the 5-year capital improvement program, or as we refer to it, CIP, for the years fiscal year 2022 through 2027. As Brian Bornstein, our city engineer, likes to say, you're the first stop on the CIP roadshow. So we hope you find this informational, helpful, and informative. Each year, the Commission has provided this opportunity to review the CIP projects in parks and facilities and to remain informed of the status of the CIP budget and scheduled projects. Here's an outline of tonight's presentation. I'll review some development strategies for the CIP program, and then I will review the funding sources, and then on to updating the parks and facilities CIPs for the fiscal year 22-23, and also the 5-year projects snapshots through year 2027. In February of each year, the staff updates their parks and facilities maintenance and renovation plans. Input is sought from management, supervisor, and key field personnel. And this input is prioritized for the projects to determine need. The process examines all assets, their current and future condition, and replacement schedules and expected useful life. This information is used to create the 5-year CIP project list and project budget for each year. The proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 capital budget is $1.7 million, which is comprised of approximately a little over $1 million from the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund and $723,000 from the Park Development Fund, which is approximately $8.8 million for the total 5-year CIP program. The parks and facility maintenance and renovation plans are prioritized from high to low on a scale of importance and need that we see throughout our parks and facilities. Priority 1 is based on repairing of safety issues and hazard abatement. This is things such as playground repairs, ADA upgrades, unsafe benches, tables, barbecues, and other amenities throughout the facilities. It's also based on complying with regulatory requirements and mandates. And when any repairs or modifications are made, sometimes these trigger upgrades due to more current regulatory requirements. And thirdly, the repairs are also driven by the support for the Parks Master Plan and the general plan goals. The second priority is based upon the need to reduce redundant repairs, which result in the same outcome. An example could be electrical or mechanical devices or parts of these devices that fail due to an overall condition of the system. We also take a look at how we can increase the functionality and enhance the recreational experience of our patrons. And with this, I'm referring to upgrades and innovations to our existing infrastructure. And thirdly, it's the overall sustainability of our parks and facilities. In the forefront to us is energy and water conservation. Not only the cost, but how we as a city affect our environment. Oops, oh goodness, I could escape, excuse me. That's what I get when I talk with my hands. As I was saying, the sustainability is very important to us. And excellent examples of that are our very sophisticated irrigation controllers and our ongoing irrigation and landscape conservation retrofits, which we've been upgrading for years. And priority 3 is a plan scheduled on our parks and facilities maintenance and renovation plans. The planned replacement upon an expected end of a useful life calculation, which results in less issues of downtime and less usage and participation interruptions. And these assets are subject to time, weather, use, etc. And they are such things as rooms and benches and seating, furnishings, flooring, window coverings, and fixtures. And staff has their finger on the pulse of this particular priority just due to the fact that we're in and around the sites and facilities on a daily basis. Secondly is an expenditure offset and revenue generation, which brings in the revenue. These assets are the park's fields and the infrastructure and the facilities attributes such as dance floors, kitchens, etc. We're always seeking ways to enhance and keep these assets functional to increase rentals and use by user groups. And finally, aesthetics, an intangible asset to our image and the pride we take in our work in public works, public services, and for our city, which San Ramon is so well known for, puts us above and beyond the rest of the Bay Area. Now I'd like to give you a brief overview of the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund and the previous strategies that have followed. As you can see, for over 10 years, $200,000 from the general fund was appropriated to the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund to partially fund the needs for renovation and replacement. The project at that time were basically prioritized on the criteria I described prior, but due to the lack of funds or the low amount of funds, they were often deferred. So in fiscal year 2016-17, there was an analysis of the unfunded needs, and an in-depth look at the past 10 years was conducted. The review was conducted of the shortfall in addressing needs and expectations of the funding, and a decision was made to allocate funding of $1.5 million from the general fund and to carry this through in subsequent years. We felt that the 1.5 million was indeed seed money to build the fund, and that was allocated at the mid-year review process that year. In fiscal year 2017-18, the $1.5 million contribution was appropriated, but the council also appropriated an additional $2 million, which was turned super funding for a total of $3.5 million that year. The following year in 2018-19, the contribution needed to be reduced to meet budget constraints and was reduced down to $435,000. In fiscal year 2019-20, the appropriation again was made of $1.5 million. In the fiscal year 2020-21, no contribution was made from general fund to the infrastructure maintenance fund. And this was due to the receipt of COP funding, or what is known as the certificates of participation. I'll go into that in a few minutes. In the year 2021, the $1.5 million contribution was again appropriated. In addition to that, there was $58,000 that was appropriated for CIP for fountain repairs and replacement, and for city facilities HVAC duct cleaning equipment. And that again was brought about at the mid-year review process. For upcoming fiscal year 22-23, which begins on July 1st, there's going to be an annual we asked for an annual contribution of 1.5 million initially, but that has been reduced, and we are asking only for $1 million due to general fund limited reserves at this time. So I'd like to give you a little background on the COP, or the certificates of participation financing. In the fiscal year 2019-20, the strategy was revised from the piecemeal repairs and renovations to a strategy of implementing the closure and renovating an entire building at one time instead of just doing it in piecemeal fashion. This strategy was able to take advantage of economies of scale for cost reductions, and it minimized the interruptions overall just to a single time frame while the facility was closed. And that same year, 2019-20, the 2019 certificate of participation debt financing was approved for capital improvements by the City Council through Resolution 2019-099. And it was approved for $24 million in funding to be used over a 3-year period. And of that, 6.6 million for facility improvements and renovation was approved. So in that same fiscal year, the renovation of 2 buildings were identified and funded in that fiscal year 2019-20. They were the El Costa Senior and Community Center and the San Ramon Community Center. The Senior Center was completed in that year. On December 16th, a grand opening was held. And the following spring, the San Ramon Community Center, the phase 1 of the interior work was completed. And that is now the beautiful new home of our Parks and Community Services Department. Two buildings were identified for the following year in fiscal year 2021. They were the Daly Station Community Center and the library, and the funding was for $500,000, but that was just for the design costs initially. And also there was funding allocated for the San Ramon Olympic Pool and Aquatic Center for $2.7 million. These 2 projects that were scheduled, as I stated, the Daly Station Community Center and Library initially was $500,000 for the design costs. In the following year, and 21-22, in this year we're currently in, additional COP funding was appropriated in the amount of $1 million, bringing the total project cost to $1.5 million. And that now includes the follow-up construction costs. Currently, the library and the community center are in design, and that will be completed by the end of this fiscal year, which is June 30th. And we are scheduling to start construction this fall of 2022. The other project that was funded for fiscal year 2021 was the San Ramon Olympic Pool and Aquatic Park. That was phase one was completed. That was the children's play area, the children's play equipment, the replaster of both the children's play pool and the replaster of the 50-meter pool, and also some decking renovation and drainage renovation at the site. Phase two for that project has a balance left of that initial $2.7 million of a little over $1 million for phase two, which is the SROP building renovation. And that also currently is in design and budget and is scheduled to be completed by the end of this year also. Now on to the Park Development Fund. So I'll give you a little background there also. In fiscal year 2000, in this fiscal year 21-22, we had budgeted for $717,000 worth of funds through the Park Development Fund. And we expected to receive over $1 million in June of last year. That was not received because projects had been deferred and reprioritized. So we had to indeed have the projects we had budgeted for also be deferred and reprioritized. Just to take care of priority items, $200,000 was appropriated from the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund at the mid-year review process, and that was for those priority items. Also at the mid-year, we, in order to keep the Park Development Fund, which was not funded fully in June of last year, we reappropriated $497,000 back to the fund, and that was for the 3 CIPs, the parks and the parks, citywide parks amenities and improvements, the irrigation booster pump installation, and the shade structure improvements. Moving forward to this year, moving to the new fiscal year, which is 22-23 starting in July, we have budgeted $723,000 in proposed park development funded projects. We have learned that we will be receiving additional developer fees, which are estimated within the 5-year CIP. And those are coming from the Chang project, City Walk project, the BR6 or the Summit Hill project on the corner of Norris Canyon and Camino Ramon. And also the Rome project, which was the former outpost property. And that totals approximately $2.2 million. So if this money is received as expected, the park maintenance plan projects are fully funded through the 5-year CIP, which ends in 26-27. Now I'd like to go through the proposed projects we have for the upcoming fiscal year. This is an unglamorous one, but a very essential project. It's our facilities heating and ventilating and air conditioning, duct cleaning and equipment replacement, and the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund is funding $120,000, and that is for the duct cleaning of the San Ramon Olympic Pool building, the Doherty Valley Aquatic Center building, the DV Service Center, and it's also funding day-to-day and any HVAC repairs that come up throughout the year. The second proposed capital improvement project is the Doherty Valley Aquatic Center, the equipment replacement, and that is funded also by the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund for $51,535. And it entails the 3-way valve improvements in the pump room, strainer basket replacements for the 50-meter pool in the pump room, the children's play pool pump replacement strainer basket, ADA chairlift upgrades for some of the components on the chairlift. There are 7 different tarp rails out there that need component replacement. There's also dive stands that will be epoxy coated on the 3-meter dive stands, and also the Sikaflex, which is the flexible expansion joint material between the expansion joints on the deck, will be replaced, and also we'll be replacing the windscreens around the pool areas up there. Another capital improvement project is our Forest Home Farm structure, and that has 2 funding sources. One is the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund for $204,000, and that will fund the wood exterior paintings of the outbuildings, which include the walnut processing barn and the sheep barn, and also the wood exterior painting of the Boone House. And we have some alternative funding from the Historic Foundation, $50,000 to fund a renovation study to overhaul the historic Boone House itself. We also, throughout the year, do interior amenities renovations throughout our facilities. And this year we have slated dishwasher replacement at both Service Center in Doherty Valley and the San Ramon Service Center here at 5,000. The ice makers at both sites also. Microwave oven replacement at the San Ramon Service Center. Coffee maker replacement at the Alcosta Senior Community Center. And throughout the city, we on an as-needed basis, we're replacing door hardware. We're replacing doors that no longer meet citywide code. As I stated earlier, there's always updates to codes and mandates. So we're replacing the doors. We'll be painting lobby and facility in the interior walls at the Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center. Painting interior walls at the Iron Horse Gym. Replacing drinking fountains at the Pine Valley Gym and the Iron Horse Gym. Reupholstering lobby chairs at the Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center, replacing lap pool entrance door on the chlorine and the acid rooms at the San Ramon Olympic Pool, and also replacing doors at 50-meter pool entrance out of the chlorine and the acid rooms at Doherty Valley Aquatic Center, and the mini blinds at the San Ramon Olympic Pool building. CIP 925479 is the San Ramon Olympic Pool Equipment Replacement Fund, and the projects we have funded this year are coming from the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund for $240,000, and those include the 50-meter pump room diatomaceous earth filter elements, the lap pool pump room stunner acid pump, the lap pool pump room, which needs a new circulation pump and a motor for the lap pool. The 50-meter pump room chemical controller. We're going to be replacing all the tarp reels. The 50-meter pool exhaust fan in the acid room and in the chlorine room. We'll be replacing 3-meter dive stands and also 1-meter dive stands. The shade canopies, there'll be 3 of those replaced. The lap pool lane lines will be replaced, all 8 of them. Also, SROP, we have ADA chairlift updates for some of the components. The lifeguard stands will be replaced, and also a new chemical shed is planned. For the citywide parks amenities and replacement fund, the Park Development Fund has budgeted $280,000, and that will go towards replacing barbecues at Centennial Park, Creekside, Hidden Crest Park, Limerick, Piccadilly, Fire Truck, Red Willow Park, and Sherwood Park. This will also be replacing benches at Arlington, Athens Downs, Creekside Park, East Branch Park, along the Iron Horse Trail, the rest nodes that we maintain along the Iron Horse Trail, along with East Bay Regional Parks, the Mill Creek Hollow benches, and at Sports Park. We have additional concrete paving be replacing near the play area at Central Park. Drinking fountains at Athens Downs, Boone Acres, East Grant Park, Old Ranch Park. We'll also be replacing garbage cans at Athens Downs, picnic tables at Arlington, Central Park, Coyote Crossing Park, and East Branch Park. CIP 955478, which is the fountain repairs and replacements this year, has dual funding. We're funding for the Central Park participatory fountain, $10,360 from the Park Development Fund, and that is for the 30-gallon storage tank, for the chlorine, the 30-gallon acid storage tank, 2 venting fans in the facility, and also an entrance door and a chemical room. We also have funding from the general fund and from the Doherty Valley CSA fund for display lighting at the Bollinger Fountain, and also 2 new sump pumps out there. And one of our favorite CIPs is the shade structures, 955566. And the funding here is dual also. We've received grant funding in the amount of $229,000. And with the city contribution for a 20% matching fund of $57,000, we have a total project cost of $286,581. And staff has identified Creekside Park, Six Pillars Park, Piccadilly Square, Red Willow, and Rancho San Ramon Park for new shade structures within the next fiscal year. On to facilities, we under CIP 925590, the recreation programs and facilities equipment replacement. We have alternative funding from this from the equipment replacement fund, and we will be replacing the furniture at the Ridgeview room at Doherty Station Community Center. We also have a CIP for the San Ramon Transit Center Enhancement Project, and we have alternative funding for that, both from a federal grant and also from our public education and government access fees, which is our PEG fund. And that will be to include monitor replacement at the transit center, ADA upgrades. There'll be bike fix stations installed, green infrastructure, and there'll be pavement management throughout the parking lots. Phase 1 of this program will be the monitors, and those will be complete by June of this year. Cricket field installation. This is a surprise that did not show up in your staff report, but we have identified those incoming park development funds. So we will be funding the new cricket field installation that will be at the Quail Run Elementary School. So we're real excited about that. Currently, we have budgeted $25,000, and we're in contact with a designer to start the design on that. And we intend to start construction latter part of this year and have it complete in this fiscal year. There's also a CIP for the Alcosta Senior Community Center Park for outdoor fitness equipment. And the estimated cost, which is currently unfunded, is $75,000. And that is for, as you can see, the ADA compliant outdoor fitness equipment at the senior center. Another project that we've identified and now we have been able to fund through the Park Development Fund is the citywide dog park renovations and improvement. And per your input, we're going to be renovating existing dog parks to make them more user-friendly by improving the surface materials. We're going to add additional shade and our other amenities, as well as we're going to keep an eye out for underutilized park spaces to create new dog park spaces throughout the city. A system here within the shop and our fleet system is a fuel management system. And this is going to be funded of an alternative funding vehicle also, which is the Vehicle Replacement Fund. And it's known as GasBoy. And what GasBoy does is it does manage our fueling at both service centers we have that we fuel our fleet. And it's a software management tool that accurately monitors not only fuel usage, but also how it monitors how the trucks are used and for maintenance purposes. And also monitors the usage and the deliveries we get from our vendors for the fuel. Another new one this year is our citywide trails amenities. It's and we have an estimated cost, as you can see, is over $10 million for this, but this is spread over 30 years, and it's unfunded currently, but this project will provide for the replacement and the enhancements of aging trail infrastructure and amenities throughout our trail system. This includes benches and ground garbage cans, the concrete, asphalt, and gravel pathways throughout the trail system, gates, pest waste stations, etc. And these amenities and improvement projects are scheduled on an ongoing annual basis according to anticipated useful life, and they're also prioritized through the annual CIP budget process. And as I said, based on a 30-year outlook and available funding as the time we do each of these budgets. We also have a CIP that is called the Public Meeting Access Enhancement Project. And the estimated cost of this is $337,000. And this CIP is for the upgrade to facilities to host public meetings through our Public Education Government Access Fees, the PEG Fund, and its installation of new technology that improves meeting broadcast quality and provides new participation options and enhances meeting efficiency in our facilities. The council authorized the $337,000 for the rotunda video wall by adopting Resolution 2021-113 on September 28th of last year. The funding will be used to upgrade the video, audio, and lighting systems in the council chamber and the rotunda. So our next steps are to bring forth the fiscal year 2022 project as part of the capital budget. We'll be meeting with the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund and the Infrastructure Maintenance Committee on the 18th, which is next Monday. Then we will be going to the Finance Committee for the 5-year CIP and capital budget presentation on the 25th, the following week. And then in May, on the 10th of May, the 5-year CIP and capital budget presentation to council. Following that, we hope the proposed council budget will be approved on the 24th of May. So with that being said, I'm here to answer any questions or comments you might have.
Great, Scott, thank you so much for a very well organized and well thought out presentation. It was very easy for me personally to follow, complicated information and a lot of information. So thank you. Very, very well done. I would like to first, before we open it up for questions and comments from the commissioners, to see if we have anyone in the audience that has public comment.
I do not see anyone in the audience with public comment.
Okay, public comment is closed. And I would like to, Scott, maybe if we could close the slides, then we can see everyone. I also wanted to mention, I really liked how you defined how priorities, priority 1, 2, and 3. Thank you very much. That was a real good reminder of how thoughtful City of San Ramon is with how we decide what projects surface up the tier. All right, I see a lot of hands. I don't know which was first, but I'll start with Vice Chair Keniston Lee.
Okay, thank you, Chair Rosen. Okay, so I have a couple of things to say. A couple of questions. So do I understand correctly that the Crow Canyon Gardens, any facility improvements, they currently remain unfunded for the next 5 years? Is that correct?
They're yes, they are unfunded currently, but we are in the design phase right now, and we are moving forward on that.
on the design phase? How long is that expected to take?
Kathy, would you mind chiming in? I know
Yeah.
this is kind of a something that's rolling around. It's kind of it's hard to put a finger on, but I'll defer to Kathy. Thank you.
Yeah, the proposed designs will be coming to the commission, I think early this summer. And once we get the proposed designs and they've gone through review by commission and council, we'll decide on what is actually going to be done. And then we'll be able to know what the cost is. We can't really put any money in there until we know how much it's going to cost and what the priorities are going to be. So the current design is being done. It's going to have costs attached to it. You're going to see it. Council's going to see it. And then once we know that money, we'll be able to put it into the CIP, even if it's in an unfunded status or in a phased status potentially.
Okay, thank you. Another question is regarding the woodlot. As I recall, that the development of the park will be funded by Sunset, as I recall. And I noticed you plugged it into 24-25. Does that mean we are anticipating the development that triggers those fees to be in hand by then?
That's what we're anticipating. It's kind of a best guess. It's based on the amount of the building permits that are issued for the project. It's tied directly to that. So when they hit that threshold, then the funding will be available and we'll move forward on that project. Yes.
Okay, my last question, and then I have just a couple comments, Chair Oslin, so thank you for bearing with me, is regarding, the CIP regarding Doherty Station Community Center and library improvements. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, and please forgive me, this is just ignorance on my part, but is there any opportunity to secure funding through the county service area or any way on that particular item to secure any kind of county support of those projects?
Well,
and that may be just me putting it out into the universe to explore. There are people in finance for our city that are much smarter than myself that probably know the answer to that question.
Well, the projects there are funded through the COP financing, the debt financing, which is provided by by that program. So, being that it is a city project. I don't know specifically, but it is funded by the general fund and the CSA overall. So
we'll just throw that out into the universe. Okay, so now the good stuff. I am forever impressed with what public services does. And I know Maria is on this call too. So I'm glad that she can hear this. You guys do an amazing job. And I know some people feel like we do a lot of patting on the back in this meeting. This is very well deserved. There are smart repairs, there's smart maintenance going on, there's coordination so that we don't replicate. I love that coordination. So I just want to start out by saying, great job. We're very fortunate. We get reports every meeting from Kathy and team about what's being done to maintain our parks and our facilities. And it's impressive. And it's one of the things that makes us feel proud about being residents and leaders in San Ramon. The other thing I want to say is that, as Chair Oslin mentioned, is that completely embrace the priorities that we continue to hold dear to. The things that, are on there that I think are always up for validation are, making safety and the hazard abatement a top priority. We are a safe community, and the folks that are leaders, that's a value for us to maintain that for our residents. So I really appreciate that. The ADA compliance, I think it's great that we are paying attention to that and that we are looking for opportunities to become compliant in that area. I'm always curious and often ask in these meetings about our understanding of and implementation of the concept of useful life. It's a little bit elusive. I know we have sort of general guidelines about how long useful life should be on a particular piece of playground equipment, but I guess I mention it just so that we are always, and I imagine you are diligent about sort of revisiting what we look at it as useful life. We have a certain standard that we like to maintain in San Ramon with our equipment and our facilities. And we want to make sure we're sort of reaching that sweet spot where it's never unsafe and it always looks good, but we're getting the most out of that resource. Does that make sense, Scott?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And first, I'd like to thank you for myself and for my division. We are an amazing, I have to take the pat on the back for everybody, but everyone deserves it. We are an amazing division, and thank you so much for the compliment. But we do take planned obsolescence of the equipment itself and the usage. And as I said earlier, we're on the site, whether it be the facility or the park, every single day. And we have our eyes on and the pulse of everything that's going on out there. As soon as we see any decline, we do plan to replace the material. But we also have our parks and facilities maintenance plan that we update yearly. And there are some things that we are able to defer, but we stick to that as closely as we can as we get funding to make sure that we're not at a point where we do lose a piece of equipment or we have some infrastructure that fails especially for safety, as you mentioned, but also we don't want any interruption to any of the services we provide either. So we keep very close eye on that.
Yeah, your pride in your job, it definitely shows. And then the last few comments would be, I was happy to see the cricket pitch come to fruition and get on the board. I would like for us to look at opportunities to implement technology infrastructure. Those can be some, big ticket items, but just opportunities to utilize technology in a way that really helps our department and our city run as efficiently as possible. And then I guess the last thing I would say is, and this is for Kathy, is I would love to see in a future parks meeting a specific agenda item on shade structures, because we know that shade has been important to our residents of all ages. And so I would love to see a shade inventory, an updated shaded inventory presented to the Parks Commission with a status on where we're at. I know we've addressed a bit of the plans in the CIP update, but and also recommendations for next, beyond what we see here. So Kathy, if we could have that on the agenda, I think that's something everybody might appreciate. Otherwise, great job, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Moving on to Commissioner Ellicott-Pesic.
Thank you so much. And without restating, I would echo Heidi's Vice Chair, Heidi Kineston-Lee's sentiments. Scott, you and your team, the work you guys do, it makes our community very proud. We benefit from it in untold ways. It's kind of like being at Disneyland where you never see a piece of garbage fall to the floor. You guys are on it. And so I really, really appreciate that. And I will particularly appreciate this presentation tonight. It's been a long day and I was afraid it was going to be a very long presentation, and you made it interesting, compelling, informative, and very succinct. I really, really appreciate the way you organized it and presented it. Many things have already been said, but I will just underscore appreciation again for prioritizing shade structures. Obviously, you're doing the health and safety and you're doing all the other stuff, in terms of keeping our parks in great condition, but we have talked about shade structures. So I appreciate that continuing to be top of mind. And I don't know how many of you will be surprised to know the next one I want to comment on is water. I'm obsessed with water. I always talk about, no matter what's going on in my house, like, oh, drink more water. So when you're talking about drinking fountains, my ears perked up. Replacing or updating, and I would really like for us to continue to look for opportunities to put bottle refilling stations anytime we're upgrading or putting in new water fountains. I think, I can't say that regular water fountains are completely dead, but if I had to choose, the bottle filling stations are the right thing. People are trained in our community to bring bottles. We're trying to reduce our plastic use. And having those out there everywhere brings a lot of peace of mind. And I feel like that is a very huge health and safety issue, especially with the heat we have in this community, making sure seniors, kids, and everybody stay hydrated. So I don't know whether that's what you were talking about, but if it's not, I would just ask every time we think about water, whether it's in a restroom in a building or outdoors somewhere, that we think about bottle refilling stations.
We do indeed. In fact, all of the renovations we've done in all of the facilities so far, every single water fountain has been changed out to a water fountain and a bottle filling station. So that is definitely part of the plan. Yes.
And Kathy, on Heidi's comment, it would be certainly very interesting to take an inventory of shade structures out there. I would love to see at the appropriate time, and I don't know when that is, some marketing around not just to the commission, but to the community on where the shade is and where the bottle filling stations are, as a reminder to people to bring their bottles and take advantage of that. And I think that makes our parks and our outdoor facilities even more compelling if we can start to, locate where those things are and people can plan their adventures accordingly. Thank you.
Great feedback. Commissioner Mitra.
Okay, thanks. First of all, Scott, thank you for that great presentation and the awesome work that you and your team does every year in and out. So first of all, thank you and your staff for doing an awesome job for that. Couple of questions on that. HVAC, I missed that number. How much was the allocation for HVAC?
Is $120,000.
20,000. Okay, sorry. Okay, so that was I missed. Just wanted to fill that up. A couple of questions, a couple of clarifications rather. I would be really appreciate that if you can provide that. And both are absolutely very important for the Dottie Valley region communities, and you know that we hear that all the time on that. One is first of all, I was wondering about the cricket pitch. So when you brought it up, thank you for bringing that up and then talk about this. This is one of the things that we have been hearing every year and do that. And knowing that you are doing in the Quail Run, which is a very prominent locations in the whole Dottie Valley area, I think it will be awesome on that one. So, and also good to hear that 275K was allocated for that. So that is for the new pitch, right? Are we allocating something for maintaining the existing couple of other pitches that we already have?
The existing pitches are maintained on a yearly basis.
On a yearly basis.
And throughout the year. Absolutely. That's part of our operating budget, and also renovation budget that we do each and every year. I'm sure you're aware, we close down all of our fields between November and February, March 1st. So yes, that's definitely, we do major renovations on those each and every year, correct.
So the existing pitches maintenance are part of the regular maintenance schedule, yearly set maintenance schedule.
Absolutely, and they will also be, once the new pitch and field is put in, it'll be part of the ongoing maintenance also.
Okay, and you said this is this new pitch is scheduled to be done by this fiscal year. Do you have any timeline, like when?
Well, as I say, currently we're in contact with a landscape architect, and we also have been in contact with the Ceremony Cricket Association. They provided some feedback to some specifications they'd like to see in it. So we're going to try to fold everything together into the design. So that design has begun. It's not very far along. We just recently found out that Quail Run was available for the new facility. But yes, we do plan on, once we get the design finalized, we'll be moving forward with the construction, and it really depends. The timing really depends on the weather, the latter part of the year. But fiscal year ends June 30th, 2023. So we have over a year to do it. So but once we do get the go ahead and the design has been approved, we are going to move forward on and get it done as quickly as we can.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Let me tell you that it is very exciting to know one more pitch coming up, because the demand is just unbelievable demand. And so I'm pretty sure that new pitch, as soon as it is done, it'll be booked for the rest of the year. So this is also a very good revenue resource as well. So I'm doubly excited about having this new one. That's one thing. Second one is also another one very important part for the Dottie Valley residents, are dog park. Right, we city staff, Kathy's staff has spent a lot of time to come up with a proposal on that, and just wanted to know that I think the allocation was around 100K, right? Citywide dog parks on that. Does that surfacing? You talked about surfacing, but I didn't get it. I mean, are we talking about resurfacing the existing 2 dog parks that are not grass in part of this 100K, or is it a separate, something separate?
No, we're looking into the existing dog parks as far as that. How how we can stretch that $100,000 to possibly do amenities such as changing surfaces out. Some of the surfaces are the decomposed granite surface. So we're looking at converting some to turf and possibly some to a more like a playground FIBAR or the playground surfacing, which is easier on the animals when they're in there. But we're still researching the existing sites we have right now. And we're also looking, as we did, Kathy's staff did present a project at Sports Park that you as commissioners probably didn't think it would work out the best, but there are other areas within the city that we are looking at that might lead to possible renovations for those also.
Yeah, I think dog park is a very high on the priority in this area, the residents, because during the pandemic, the number of dogs and pets have gone up, and we have heard people over and over again that they want on that one. So I really, anything related to dog park will be a very added advantage to the residents of this area. That much I can tell you. So I hope that we have that proposal come back at some point and revisit that. But whatever we can do right now, it's definitely going to benefit the residents. That much I can tell you. So thank you.
Right. I agree with everything that the commissioners have said up to this point. Totally endorse everything. I had one quick question for you, Scott. You mentioned in your report about the Park Development Fund and that it's eventually going to be depleted. So I'm just curious about what some future strategies are around that. And I don't know if you can answer that question but I'm just curious.
Well, you are correct. The Parks Development Fund is funded through development fees for development, and currently we're coming to the end of that. We have 5 additional subdivisions that are being built in the Doherty Valley, so the fees are going to be coming from that. But we also have the City Walk and the other downtown area, the additional fees that will be paid on the Chang property, the Rome property, which is the old Outpost property, and also down the road, I'm not sure exactly when it's going to occur, but I know there is plans for a hotel there on the corner of Omega and Deerwood, and also there's going to be development, I believe, of the Morgan's masonry yard also. So those are coming down the line, but eventually the development will slow down to where there will be less and less, and then there will be no more. So I think at that point we have time to look forward to the infrastructure maintenance fund. And I see Maria's popped on, so she would like to chime in on this, so I will turn it over to Maria.
Great, thank you. Hi, Maria.
Good
Welcome.
evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Maria Ferner, the Public Works Director. I just wanted to jump in and talk about that a little bit more. It's a great question because the development fees for parks is always fluctuating, and which is the reason why we had to do what we did in 21-22 this fiscal year. That is also the reason why we developed the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund. So if there are times when we're not having the cash flow, but we have the priority items for parks or facilities, then mainly parks, because parks is the one that is funded by the Park Development Fund. Then we can use the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund to fund those park projects. And the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund is coming from the general fund. So what we do is present it to the council and let them know that these are the priority projects that we are moving forward with, that we do not have funding due to the lack of Park Development Fund. And then the council will allocate the funding accordingly.
Right. Thank you very much for explaining that, and appreciate that that explanation.
You're
Very
welcome.
All right. Well, I don't see any other hands. Thank you very much, Scott and Maria and Brian and the whole team. Thank you very much. Great presentation, very thorough, informative, and thanks for listening to our feedback as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 8.2, review of the 2021-22 significant accomplishments and 2022-23 major action plans. We're going to receive a presentation from both Kathy Hyman and May Malinik. And so I'd like to invite the two of them to come in and present.
Absolutely. Well, it's a kind of a nice time of year. We do this annually. We come and tell you about some of the big things that the department has accomplished during the last year, and then some of the big goals and initiatives that have come up both through the commission, from the master plan, from the city council goals, from the community, and from all the other places that we gather information that we pull together and say, okay, these are some of the big goals that we're going to work on this year. The list we're going to talk about today is not the complete list. If I listed every single goal that all of our staff came up with, it would take us a very long time. But these are just some of the big ones. And so suffice to say, there are lots of other things going on a regular basis to help us move forward. So I think, May, you're going to share the screen for me so we can have our PowerPoint come up.
I think it'll be Christy. Christy, could you pull that, please?
Okay, I think we're almost there. There we go. All right, so that's just the title slide. So let's go to the next slide. And I'm going to start with our significant accomplishments. Next slide. So some of the big things that we've accomplished this year, which were creating and installing our new Upcycle Your Heart Out public art project that was in Central Park and then moved out to Doherty Station. We developed some of the initial plans to restore and preserve the Boone House at Forest Home Farms with feedback from the community. We've secured a corporate sponsor for the scholarship program to increase the availability of funds for residents requesting financial assistance. We activated Crow Canyon Gardens, and we're trying to continue with that by revamping the volunteer gardening program and developing a new youth nature camp. And we're pretty excited about that one. That one you're going to see is a continued goal next year because we want to keep moving forward, but we've had some great success with some corporate sponsors out there helping do some projects, to have some Boy Scout projects, and we're starting to really build that cadre of volunteers. We launched the Dog Park Initiative, which, as you know, included a community-wide survey and recommendations for future dog park enhancements and development of city dog park web pages and a new social media campaign, which you're going to see launching here shortly. Next slide. We developed and implemented a new walkthrough version of our Live Well Senior Resource Fair. And we did it because of COVID, but it really turned out quite well. I just have a feeling they may keep it because it was so fun to go walking through and collect everything at each of the tables. And I think the seniors really loved it, and the sponsors certainly did too. So you might see that one coming back. We activated Parks and Trails through a new youth BMX and road cycling program, which included both camps and classes. Kind of fun to dive into that genre because we hadn't had bike programs before. We planned and implemented the 2022 Art and Wind Festival, as you know, is coming. You're going to hear a little more about it next month, right before the festival, but it will include an expanded footprint and enhanced programs, including a very special memorial program at Memorial Park in the morning before the festival opens and a veterans art exhibit at City Hall. We developed the new Teen Service and Leadership Program, which provided the opportunity to build leadership skills and gain job experience for future employment with the city for our teens. That was in both a program class kind of a format as well as during the summer. And we've expanded our dive-in movie program to 3 events per year. Next slide. We coordinated 5 trail cleanup days with the Boy Scouts and some local teen groups. We conducted a bocce court analysis and developed some recommendations for improvements in future usage. We've collaborated with the San Ramon Police Department to develop the social services webpage and pamphlet for inclusion on the city website and distribution at all city facilities. This is a pretty great one. Excuse me. It's a trifold and it lists all of the different resources someone might need when they're in crisis, from support for battered women or those kinds of situations, domestic violence situations. It has resources for food, for people who are in need of food, legal assistance, who to call, and it's kind of all in one place. And we've also done it on our website. So it makes it easy for our residents who are in crisis to be able to access those. And that was an initiative that we took on in partnership with the police department. We collaborated with Public Service and the San Ramon Valley Unified School District for the installation of 9 badminton/pickleball courts at the Iron Horse Community Gym. That's where new sleeves were put in the ground to make it easy to get the nets up and down, and lines were painted. So we can run those programs in our open gym programs. And we collaborated with the Community Development Department to complete and publish the San Ramon Walking District Master Plan. And I've got a goal in the next slides about that. Next slide. So as I move on to our major action plans, now these are the things that we're planning to do that we're excited about, that we're moving forward on. So we are implementing a new facility rental software that utilizes iPads to improve renter experience by making it easy and paperless to access contracts, room layouts, policies, and procedures. So when you rent your room, instead of someone flipping through a bunch of paper, you can walk right with our building attendant with the iPad and draw on the iPad where you want things to go and do the paperwork right there. So it's a way to improve our customer service. We are partnering with Smart Outdoors to improve our existing trailhead signage and trail markers, utilizing corporate sponsorship as a funding mechanism. This is something that we're right now just taking through the approval process. We were asked by the city council to take a look at sponsorship of our sports fields and of other park and like amenities. This opportunity to have this with Smart Outdoors came forward. And so we met with them, city council, and the policy committee asked us to pursue it. So we have been moving that forward. We've gone to the Open Space Advisory Committee, and it will be going to City Council here in another couple of weeks. And then eventually the City Council has asked that the commission take on the job of reviewing the signage and how it's going to look. So that will be coming back to you. We also hope to continue our partnerships with the San Ramon Historic Foundation to renovate the organic demonstration garden and then develop those plans to renovate the Boone House at Forest Home Farms. You just heard about through the CIP program. Next slide. We are planning to host an art summit. I think it's been maybe well over 10 years now since we had an art summit. And so it's time for us to host an art summit again to provide community feedback on the delivery of arts programs and activities. It should be well timed with this plan for an art center that we can have some of those things kind of come together. We'd like to implement a community tree lighting. That's another one that goes back several years. We used to light the tree in the meadow here in Central Park. When Bishop Ranch's tree lighting got bigger and bigger and bigger, ours was downsized and eventually ended, I think due to some fiscal restraints at the time. But at this point, we're going to go ahead and bring that back and have an opportunity to celebrate San Ramon's diverse community and the winter holidays. So look forward to that event. We are planning to continue researching and developing options to enhance and improve San Ramon's dog parks with that new surface material and amenities, and also launching that social media campaign aimed at educating and engaging dog owners, both dog owners and non-dog owners, about how everyone can cohabitate and share those parks. And very important to the community right now, we are researching and developing potential location and cost estimates for the addition of pickleball courts to existing parks. That's a hot topic, a hot sport. It's rising quickly. We're getting lots of calls. And so we are doing our best to come up with some options that will also be coming back to the Parks Commission eventually for your review. Next slide. We are looking at developing and implementing new temporary public art project in a park that increases community engagement. We've got a really fun one coming. That one's going to be coming to you shortly as well. I'm not going to tell you too much about it, except for that you're going to like it. We're going to be enhancing and improving Crocaning Gardens by developing that robust volunteer workforce and nature-themed day camp program to assist with maintaining those demonstration gardens and educating the community about nature and gardening. So really the big reason that we need to make this work is we need volunteers, we need community support, because to have that demonstration garden in its full glory is more than our public works department can take on. So this has got to be a focus and initiative for us to get those volunteers excited and moving and get that program up and running so that we can have that demonstration garden back to the full glory that everybody wants to see it. So that's the Crow Canyon Gardens piece. We are working on developing a Walk San Ramon program in the walking district area that encourages and promotes walking for improved health and increases opportunities for community connection. So that'll be an initiative for a group of our staff to work on developing that program. We want to grab onto the synergy and energy that we got from creating the walking district. We know we have the BR6 park coming. We know we have these other pieces, but in the meantime, as it's being developed, we want to start an actual fitness program that's Walk San Ramon, so we can start to build in that direction. And then finally, we want to rebrand that Doherty Station Community Center as an arts and community center through the development of lots of new programs and a remodel of current space with a focus on that visual and performing arts to bring life back to the Doherty Station Community Center and just recharge it with all the things that we think that the arts can bring to that space, as it certainly already has the bones for it with the theater and the art studio and the dance studio. Next slide. Thought that was the last one. I wanted to make sure. So that's my section, which are the accomplishments and actions and goals. And now I'm very pleased to hand it off to our analyst, May Melnick, to go through some of the budget numbers. Before she starts, I do want to add one note, which is we prepared this PowerPoint presentation and staff report and put it into your packet last week. And then late in the week, the budget numbers were changed before they went to City Council. So May is going to be presenting the numbers that are in the packet. The numbers that changed are fairly slight. They don't change the overall concepts. It was just some additional changes that were made to the benefits and some of the staffing numbers. But like I said, the big picture is all the same. I just didn't want to confuse it by bringing in new numbers at this point. So take it away, May.
Thank you, Kathy, and good evening, Chair Oslin and commissioners. Before we dive into the proposed budget for next year, I thought it would be helpful to review what our current year budget is for comparison. So in our current fiscal year, 2021 to 2022, originally the budget was created with an optimistic purview, assuming that there would be slow growth in Q1, but that everything would return as close to normal by Q2 or Q3. So our expenditure budget was 8.6 million. Our revenue budget is about 4.4, with a general fund subsidy about 4.2 million, which is a 51% cost recovery. That's the percentage of expenditures that are covered by revenue. As we now know, due to variance and prolonged mandates, that did affect how much revenue we have earned thus far. However, we have kept our expenditures low for this current fiscal year by delaying the hiring of 4 full-time positions and additional expenses to maintain our cost recovery as best as possible. Next slide, please. At our mid-year forecasts this past January, we do, as I mentioned, expect to experience additional savings. So we do believe that our fiscal year will end at 7.9 spent in expenditures, earning 3.8 in revenue with a general fund subsidy of about 4.1 million. This is a revised cost recovery of about 48%. These changes are due to significant reductions in our senior programs, arts programs, and a lack of facility rentals, but we did increase great revenue within our aquatics and youth sports departments. Next slide, please. So for our next proposed fiscal year, our budget is, and again, I'll reiterate that the rate that you see here, it's actually less than that, but at the time of this staff report, the budget was proposed to be 8.6 million, which is a decrease of 17,000 of our current budget, or less than 0.2%. We do anticipate an increase in part-time salary of 52,000 due to an anticipated increase in mandatory minimum wage, an increase in our venue tech contract services, about 18,000, an increase in our presenting series performer fees of about 49,000. However, we also expect a decrease in our county library contract of about $55,000, a decrease in internet and phone utilities of about $9,000, and a decrease in office supplies and mailing costs for recreation guides, which is about $10,000. Next slide, please. So to recap, our department budget at the time was 8.6. Just so you know what it is modified to now, our proposed budget for next year is now at 8.4, which is a reduction of about 180,000 compared to this current fiscal year. Our staffing is about 78% of our expenditures for next year. 19% of the expenditure budget is due to contracts, and then about 3% going towards materials and supplies. Our general fund subsidy is at 47%. Our revenues come from our service charges, contributions, user fees, and rentals totaling about 4.6 million, which would fund 53% of our department expenditures. Down below on this slide, you can see a comparison of our current fiscal year, where we are or what we expect for mid-year and our proposed budget for next year. I'd like to highlight that the proposed cost recovery for next year is at 53%, but since we actually have additional savings now due to our modified budget, we're actually expecting an even higher cost recovery of about 55%. Next slide, please. So at this point, today we are requesting that the commission accepts this report, and Kathy and I are happy to answer any questions at this time.
Great. Thank you, May, and thank you very much, Kathy, for a very thorough and detailed report. Very informative. Before we open it up to discussion with the commissioners, I'd like to find out if we have anyone in the audience that has a public comment.
No, we have 3 in attendance and no public comment.
Okay, I'll close the public comment, and I will start with Commissioner Dorlick.
Thank you. So just a couple of questions. When you talk about the cost recovery, what is a metric that we look at for other similar sized and funded cities in the Bay Area? Do we have a metric? Are we kind of at the average? Are we above? Are we below?
It's a tough one because lots of departments have different things included in them. So it's difficult to get an apples to apples comparison because some departments would include the parks or public works department, some don't, some have facilities, some don't. A general rule of thumb, I think, in a well-run city is a 50% cost recovery, and that's what we strive for. But you can find many that are higher and some that are lower. If you have a very small staff, so in a small city where maybe you've got 1 or 2 recreation department staff, you may be able to recover more costs because you don't have as much, as many facilities and as many programs. We're facility heavy, which requires staffing, which does make it a little more challenging, but 50% is the goal generally.
Okay. I mean, it's nice to have, kind of a picture of where we are with that, because we got 78% of staffing. So obviously people are the big cost on that. 2 other questions. So you indicated that you delayed some hiring. Were those positions or those functions filled by contract hires and not, full-time equivalents, FTEs? Or were those those functions were just not filled?
They were not filled. So because we had the positions allocated and they were funded in our budget, however, we held on the hiring because we knew our revenues would not support. And because of the pandemic, we didn't have as many rentals coming in, for example. So we just took those people who were working on those programs and kind of shuffled the work around and, plug this hole, plug that hole, and have kind of limped along in some areas. And so, for example, a marketing coordinator, we have a new person who will be starting in just a couple of weeks now, which we desperately need. We haven't had that support in a couple of years. And it's just now we just can't sustain any longer now that everything is picking back up.
Right. Well, the good news is that it didn't appear that there were functions that weren't being filled. So even though it was not being filled, the perception would be, you did a great job on that. One other question, I'm looking through the major action plan. I'm looking through it again as we talk. I just don't see fireworks in here. I just don't see fireworks.
We don't have fireworks. No, we don't. Not this year for certain. I will say though, that as you're watching all these other cities come up with ways to do drones and do some of these other things with drones, I think that's going to be a technology that may make something a sky show eventually in the future, something we may want to consider.
Good. I would be happy to see that and see if we could get that back into our community. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to move to Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A very good overall review. I mean, it made you feel really, excited to be a part of the Parks Commission, to see that we've done so many major significant, accomplishments. One of them I was really elated about is that we collaborated with the San Ramon Police Department to develop social services. I think our community needed that extensively because it's becoming so prevalent and I'm glad to see that we're taking action to, to help people that really need the help. So in the interesting in some of the major action plans is the facility rental software. That will be interesting since that will make it easier for people to rent, I think, our facilities and make it make it very good. And I like the trail signs to help. And I'm so glad that we're planning to have a community lighting tree again, because I think that'll bring us more together. Because the Bishop one is really great, but it is huge. But I think this will be for us to bring our community together and celebrate there. I think that's really nice. And I'm glad for pickleball courts because everybody's wanting those. And I'm glad we put that plan in the new park that we just did also there at that one. And then the one I really am glad that we're doing is because if you go to Crow Canyon Gardens, it really doesn't look very nice because there's lots of weeds and things. And I know we can't keep it up, but implementing to get more workforce, volunteers to get that garden back up, I think it will be very good because it's really sad to see it now that it isn't. So I'm really glad that that's in our list for good things to do. And I think, the cost recoveries of what we have, I think we do a lot for things, and bless the people that took the positions that couldn't be filled and had to go here, there. And I know everyone has worked extra hard. So I think our staffing is great in doing their jobs that they do. So I'm pleased that what we've accomplished and what we're planning for the future. So I just want to thank you for guiding us and directing us and making, us one of the active places and the best places in California to have our parks. So thank you.
I'd like to go to our Vice Chair, Keniston Lee, next.
Thank you, Chair Oslin. So with regard to the report, I just wrote one word in my notes, proud, because that really summarizes it for me. And then I had a couple of reinforcement thoughts. I had the pleasure of going to the Upcycle Your Heart reception where we had the artists come and we had displayed their artwork, and it was very poorly attended. And I'm not sure why that is exactly, but it got me to thinking about how we promote I guess that our goal should be to constantly try to figure out how do we communicate with our residents, how do we promote events, and just to look for those opportunities, because I know our staff puts a great deal of effort into projects and programs like Upcycle Your Heart Out. And I want to make sure that the community is participating as much as possible and that they're appreciating it. So I just want to look for opportunities to pump up the promotion and the celebration of certain things. I love the work with the Scouts and the teen groups. Would love to see a little reference to Girl Scouts in there. Just plug in the Girl Scouts there. Also, anytime we can do what we can to make connections in our community. And by that, I mean youth to seniors. I mean neighborhoods connecting. I mean first responders and residents. I love the lunch with law enforcement with the seniors. I think that's brilliant that we bring law enforcement and our seniors together to answer questions and give them updates. You know, where we can bring kids and law enforcement together in a really constructive, positive way and make that partnership. I know at one time, Kathy, we used that, what was it? It was a block party kit. And I'm not sure, maybe we can get a report at someday of how that worked. I'm not convinced it was really successful, but ways that we can bridge those connections, particularly as we start to emerge from the pandemic. I think our team has been particularly helpful with or successful with utilizing technology on trails and what have you. I would challenge us to continue to use that, and the iPads is an example of that. And then, of course, constantly thinking about our teen demographic is really important to a lot of us. And then finally, as Carol Lopez-Lucy said, let's keep using those volunteers. Let's find even more opportunities. Let's be real. Our teens particularly are always looking for community service opportunities for a number of reasons. And I think that we should continually to utilize them, as Commissioner Lopez-Lucy said, to really get the work that we need done in our community. So good job. And it's just exciting to be part of the team. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Breed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hey, Kathy, thank you so much for the presentation. And I just want to call out a couple of things. First of all, I know that we're doing a lot of cost recovery, and I think that's great to help manage the cost. But also, I like how we manage the fees to our community, so we still make everything affordable, and we work hard to keep those low. And I think that's important to note, because while we're trying to maintain cost recovery, we're being smart on what we charge. Also, it wasn't called out, but COVID was a very challenging time. I think Parks Commission and Maine Parks Department did a great job with agility and creating programs. And Heidi called out the one I really liked with the police partnership with the mental health part. So thank you for doing that. I have really two questions and a comment. I'll give you both questions. Is that okay at once, and then my comments. That way we can be efficient. Question on sponsorships. I like the sponsorship idea. It obviously reduces strain on the budget. What is the plan on? You mentioned possibly getting sponsorship for parks or other facilities in the community that maybe offset maintenance or whatever. I don't know that's where if you're headed that way, but if you're, I think that's really smart. But it'd be great to see that plan and how we're going to leverage sponsorships and what that looks like within our parks, so we can understand that a little bit better. But I like it. I just like to see what it's going to look like. My second comment, how do you mention a little bit the technology? You know, I know we deployed the tennis court reservation system. I'd be curious to see how that's working. Actually, there's a reason why I ran into some person who was waiting for tennis courts, and I said, "Hey, have you tried this?" But and what's our, do we have a technology master plan? If we do, I'd love to see kind of how we're going to leverage technology a little bit better if we have a plan behind technology. And my last one was a comment. It'd be interesting. We talked this earlier, but is there a way that we could look at developing programs for 8th grade to high school, that part of our population and community? How do we reach that community a little bit better? I don't have an answer on that yet, but especially during, weekends and nights, there's just not a lot to do. And so instead of hanging out at a Safeway parking lot or on top of one of our city centers playing spike ball, is there a way that we can create some type of environment for them to gather safely and some type of activity? So it's just an idea, but I think there's an opportunity there. So thank you very much. I'll let you answer, and thank you for listening to me. Appreciate it.
Sure. In regards to the sponsorship, so actually it's well timed. So we have two prongs of the sponsorship piece. One was the trail signage that I mentioned that was kind of driven by the city council. So that will be coming to you in the version of you'll be weighing in and approving what those signs will actually look like. The other that the city council requested was the sports field sponsorship. So to that end, we have an initiative of staff that have been working on it, and that'll be coming to you. I think it may be on the June agenda. I'm not positive, but it's early summer. to bring our concepts and ideas forward about what we're thinking will work based on research done both locally in California and nationally. And so there are a lot of prongs to it and a lot of different pieces, but it's looking at some of our biggest sports fields and how we could gather sponsorship funds to help offset, I think, 30% of the annual maintenance costs. That's kind of the goal that we're looking at. And so those are the two primary areas right now that we're looking at. And there are a few cities doing sports field sponsorship and some of these things, not a lot. So we're definitely out there in the creation place of trying to figure out how to do it, what's reasonable, what can we actually succeed at. So that will be coming to you soon. And then in regards to technology with the tennis courts, happy to come back and have staff present what's been going on as we've moved forward. We do not have a per se plan for the department on technology, but I've got a bunch of wonderful, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I have a bunch of wonderful young staff, and they are very technologically proficient and are always bringing forward the next newest, greatest idea. And we try and take a hard look at them all and bring forward those that we think are in the best shape. It's a great idea to have a technology plan. We do have that new ITech committee for the city, and they're looking at it as a citywide initiative. So our pieces would go into that. But as a department, we don't have one yet. So something to think about.
Kathy, thanks you so much. Appreciate it.
Great. Well, I'll bring us home. I'm very proud too. We have done a lot this past year, and I'm very excited about the initiatives that are in the queue for 2022-23. Just a quick question for May, and then I want to come back to you, Kathy. So I was curious about the venue tech contract, because I know we, haven't had a lot of events at the theaters and things. So I'm just curious, did their services change? Kind of what was the differentiator for the increase?
The increase was related to a CPI increase.
Actually, I think I know what you're talking about. I'm going to jump in here. If you're talking about that $49,000 for the presenting series,
the venue tech contract services.
Okay.
Yeah, for our venue tech contract, that was based on basically a CPI increase.
Yeah, to follow further. So venue tech is a long-term contract, and in their contract each year, there's an escalator based on CPI for different portions of the contract. So that has gone up automatically. Those are costs we just have to bear every year. We can, when we go out for RFP, we can renegotiate.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. I just wanted to also comment on the Smart Outdoors program for sponsorship for trail signage. I attended the Open Space Advisory Committee meeting on Monday and heard the presentation about the firm and what they would offer. So it's an interesting concept as far as kind of thinking outside of the box on how we normally do our business here in the park. So it's interesting, and I'll be curious to have this come forward to the commissioners. And then I just want to make sure that we keep first and foremost, our thoughts around isolation in our community, that we really focus on building our social infrastructure with all our age groups and diversity and ethnicities within our community, and have that, it's kind of like our lens and filter that we put all of our 2022-23 initiatives through moving forward. So with that, no motions are needed with this. Thank you both, May and Kathy, for your great presentation. Thank you, commissioners, for your feedback and comments.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to item 8.3, return to in-person meetings. Kathy's going to fill us in here, and then we're going to have a discussion about this.
Yes, so as you all know, we went to these Zoom meetings, and we've been in them for the last 2 years, and we've done great things and accomplished a lot despite a pandemic. At this point, the City Council returned last night to an in-person meeting in the council chambers. And it was a hybrid meeting. So you were able to participate live in the meeting. And if you wished, you could join via Zoom so that you could make public comment and you could watch the meeting. And this is a bit of a feat because it takes two different systems to run those meetings. And so it went well. We're still working out some of the kinks of how to move people in and out. So at this point in time, when we do go back to the hybrid meetings, we will be in the council chambers and we'll have that opportunity for people to Zoom from the public to engage with the meeting. We will not have the opportunity for commissioners to be elsewhere for the meeting. So it will be everybody back in the building for those meetings, but we will have the hybrid opportunity. So when the city council considered coming back, they offered and said, we'd like to let each committee and commission have an opportunity to decide whether or not they want to come forward and go live in May or stay on Zoom in May, and then everybody back in June. Of course, with the caveat, knowing if there's some spike or some change in the health orders, then of course we know how to go back to Zoom and we'll come back to it. But in general, that was the plan. Given that the technology is a little more complicated as we try to unfold it, there is some thought that maybe it would be good to have an extra few weeks to get staff and everyone up to speed on how to work all the bells and whistles in the council chamber. So if you want to stay on Zoom until June, that is fine. And we would probably be appreciative of some of that extra time. But if you would like to come back in May, the city council has come back and we will do our best to make that happen. So this really is up to you as a group to weigh in on your own personal feelings about that and what you would like to see happen. In the event that we split in the opinions, then it is the chair's decision. So I think that's the crux of the issue, and I just turned it over to all of you, and it does look like you have public comment as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kathy. Before we open this up for discussion, I'd like to open up public comment.
Thank you. Just give me a moment to bring up my timer. One moment. It looks, yep, public comment is still there. 1 minute. Hello, speaker. It's your opportunity to talk.
Hi, this is regarding the meeting, right? Or can I comment also on the previous item that I didn't get to speak?
Actually, the previous item is now closed. Public comment was open and closed.
Okay, so can I still speak or no?
No, not on that comment, not on that item.
Okay, so regarding the meeting, I think because of the timing that you meet, which is in the evening, it would be difficult for the public to participate. So if you would like more public participation, I think at least, you know, hybrid is preferred. That's from my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. We have no further public comment.
Thanks, Christy. Public comment is now closed. I'd like to start with Commissioner Dorlick.
Thank you, Chair. So Kathy, question. July 1st would have seemed like the natural kind of flow since it's the beginning of the fiscal year. It's kind of where everything changes. That would have given a little more time to, you know, work out some of the technology issues. Do you have any insight into why June 1st rather than July 1st?
Because the public health order has been lifted and we've had requests from the public to go back to, I think, live meetings, and the city council's desire to be back live than not having to wear masks anymore. They wanted to accomplish that as soon as possible, but also did not want to rush it if there were some committees or commissions that either for health reasons or for whatever reasons felt that they wanted to wait a little longer. They never considered going as far as July, to my knowledge.
Okay, thanks.
So we're going to be asked to make a decision tonight. So I see another comment or hand raise, Vice Chair Keniston Lee.
Yeah, one comment, and then I'm actually prepared to make a motion. So it would seem to me that waiting until June also allows us, which I believe the city council did, to have a little bit of a training session on the iPads, because it's been a while since we've actually had to make motions and take action on the iPad. So I like that extended. Am I correct with that, Kathy? And we could do something like that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I do like that. So, and I'm sort of sensing that staff would appreciate that later time start. And then do we have to incorporate in the motion, Kathy, that it's understood that the commissioners would be in person, but that the hybrid approach to public participation is still allowed, right?
Yeah, you do not have to put that in the motion. That is what we're.
That's implied. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chair Oslin, are you ready to entertain a motion?
I'd like to give Commissioner Mitra an opportunity before that's made.
No problem.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you, Chair.
point of order. We can continue the discussion following a motion on the table.
A motion has not been made. And it has
Okay,
not.
okay. I'm just saying that it doesn't curtail discussion. In fact, it's better to have a motion on the table around which people can discuss rather than not. But I'll leave that to your discretion.
I yield the floor to Commissioner Mitra.
Yes, I'd like to have Commissioner Mitra have his opportunity, and then we will move.
Yeah, it's a quick one, short one. So it's to Kathy. Some of us haven't been, although been there for several months, haven't been into the council chamber and not experienced that one. Just a question is that whenever we start, right, whether immediate or in June, will there be some sort of walkthrough and getting us used to that whole system? Because it is important. I have been there for several months now. I haven't been there in that room or gone through that yet.
Yes, that is part of what would be nice, is because we would have more time with which to get everybody up and trained and get all the functions of the iPads working, and make sure that our staff are trained, Christy and Stacy, to assist, because there are two systems that will have to run simultaneously to make it a hybrid meeting. So it's quite complicated, and when things go wrong, we have to make sure that we know how to fix them as quickly as possible. So absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's it.
All right. I'd like to receive a motion, please.
Okay. I move that we return to in-person Parks and Community Services Commission meetings in June, for our meeting in June 2022. And I think that's all you need, right?
I second that.
Second.
All right, take a vote.
Yes, let me bring that up. Commissioner Dorlick,
Aye.
Commissioner Breed,
Aye.
Commissioner Mitra,
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellicott Pesic,
Aye.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee,
Aye.
Chair Oslin.
Aye.
Thank you, passed.
Commissioner, Chair Oslin, can I just ask one question on that? If the staff finds that they need more time and the city grants it, we can reevaluate the wording of the motion.
I would say that would probably have to come up as a public on our agenda.
At the May meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And personal, well, yeah. All right, moving on to item 8.4. Teen Council 2022-23 Teen Council appointment recommendations. Kathy's going to present, and I'm going to be augmenting that.
Beautiful. So as you all know, because you've been working so hard on the Teen Council screening and interviews, you're all very aware of it, but for the sake of the record, I'm just going to give a little bit of background here. So as you know, Teen Council is made up of the 19 members, that's 16 regular members and 2 alternates. They each are appointed to 1-year terms, and 1 chairperson is appointed to a 2-year progressive term that begins as vice chair in year 1 and progresses to chairperson in year 2. So for next year, Anya Ayapan was appointed to the vice chair position currently, so she will move on into the chair position for next year. and as well as the student commissioner when our student commissioner moves on to college. So currently we have 18 spots, and the city clerk did the announcements for the vacancies. We collected all those applications, and we received 50 applications. They were screened phase 1 and 2 by Commissioners Breed, Ellicott, Pesic, and Mitra. 39 virtual interviews for phase 3 were conducted by a subcommittee comprised of Commissioners Dorlick, Keniston Lee, and Chair Osland. And they were charged with making a recommendation to the full commission for consideration, along with the prioritization of a wait list for future teen council members should they be needed. So at this point, it is recommended the commission approve a recommendation to the city council for the appointment of the 18 applicants to serve on the teen council with terms expiring in July of 2023. It's further recommended that the commission prioritize a wait list for the teen council should vacancies occur during the year. So I'm going to hand this off to Julia to talk about the actual applicants. Anything else you all would like to discuss?
Right. I think it's important that we read the names of the 18 students that we have selected with the 2 alternates, which includes the 2 alternates. And these are not in any rank order. So I'm going to start with the name that's first on my list. Sanvi Gupta, Ananya Penamaneni, Sachi Sharma, Sadhana Tadapali, Darshita Prathap, Tanashika Chawla, Aditya Jain, Eliana Horn, Shruti Sridhar, Samyuta Tripasuri, Dhruv Harinath, Tanay Joshi, Sophia Pedersoli, Ria Bandari, Arpita Gupta, Harshita Karipada. And our 2 alternates that we indicated would be alternate 1, Gatik Tridedi, and second alternate is Matilda Lynn. So I'd like to, before we discuss and make a motion, I'd like to open it up for public comment. Do we have anyone in the audience with public comment?
We do have one with public comment, so let me share my screen and I'll bring up my timer. One moment, please. Speaker, this is your opportunity to talk.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, did I hear you correctly that there were 43 applicants and you picked 18?
There were 50 applicants that were submitted.
50.
Correct.
Okay, I feel your list is extremely, I don't know how to say this. It is not diversity at all. And if, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why we have to be so, I don't know how to say this. So if there are 50, you fail to explain to the public how you picked the 18. I would think that there are other races, no? I mean, not that the 18 you pick are not good, but just for diversity's sake, I did not hear that based on the names that you just called out. And I'm wondering if you were biased, and how did you pick these students that they all happen to be like pretty much the same race?
I'm sorry, we're not able to comment. We're just able to receive your comments.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
We're not able to respond to your comment, just to receive your comment.
Okay, you cannot respond to my comment. Okay, so that would be something I can go to the city hall to find out then?
I think that your questions may be answered when the commission continue their discussion on the topic.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. We have no further public comment.
Public comment is now closed. And I'd like to start with if anyone has some feedback around the students that have. Okay, so then I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the 18 students for the teen council as presented and forwarded on to the city council for their final review and recommendation.
I'll
Second
second.
I see a hand raised. Kathy?
Yes, you can continue with your motion. I did want to address the one quick question that the speaker did make, because it may not be as 100% clear that the applicants all applied with applications that were screened and scored individually by 3 separate commissioners and then averaged together in order to get a ranked order. Then the top 39 applicants from that ranked screening were personally interviewed by 3 other commissioners. And that is how we got to the 18. So every applicant that we received was both reviewed and scored, and 39 of the applicants were interviewed.
Thank you for explaining that again. I heard that in your initial report. Thank you, Kathy. So I see some hands raised. We've had a motion made. Commissioner Breed?
Yeah, hey, I have a quick question, Chairperson Owen. Is the motion, do we have to also put forward the alternates and the wait list as part of the motion to the council, or is it just the 18 names? So I'm just trying to clarity on what we need to put forward, because initially you said, hey, we have the 18 folks, or sorry, the 16 folks and the 2 people on the wait list. And do we also have to put forward the wait lists too? I just wanted to, if we do, we need to rethink that motion. So I'm just trying to draw some clarity.
Yes, we do need to promote the those that are not the alternates, but they're also on the wait list. That will be what our motion should include.
Okay, Will, can we adjust your motion?
Well, I can amend the motion. My understanding was that it was the 16 plus the 2 alternates that went to the city council, and the wait list was not part of that. Is that not true? I thought the wait list was in the event that there was some issue that prevented one of the 16 or the 2 alternates to be able to execute their assigned duties.
I think we're at
Kathy?
liberty to make a formal motion with regard to the list of the wait list, because we are specifically recommending a particular order from which they would be pulled up to the city teen council. So Kathy, unless you object, I would be comfortable with that being an amended motion from Commissioner Dorlick, if he's comfortable with that.
I'll amend the motion if that's the order that it went in, but I seem to remember in the past we just we didn't send the wait list along, if I remember correctly, but we can send the wait list as well if you want.
We do, as a part of the charge, establish a wait list. We don't generally read the list of names at the city council meeting, but we establish a wait list that is part of would be ideal if it's part of the motion. It's somewhat implied.
Sure. I mean, I'll amend the motion to include the wait list.
Thank you.
Do we need to second that? Or is it already?
Oh, second.
I see one more hand up, Commissioner Ellicott-Pesek.
Hi, I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to participate in the process as a resident of the Doherty Valley for the last 16 years. And one high schooler has gone on to college from Doherty Valley High School. I've been PTSA president, and I had the privilege of reviewing all 50 applications, and they did come from schools throughout the district, even ones that are not in San Ramon, but residents of San Ramon. And while I would say the caliber of the applications for the most part was outstanding, as I've seen from my experience having a Doherty Valley and a Cal High student. And I read them as they were presented and based on their merits. I do think we can always continue to do our very best in marketing the opportunities. I would like the commission, or the Parks and Community Services to actively prioritize advertising the opportunity through the school channels for the high schools and the middle schools that are in San Ramon, and encourage us to reach out to the school district and the San Ramon Valley Council of PTAs to make sure that that information is going out. I think it not only ensures that there's no question that everybody knew about it, although we advertise like crazy already. I know that there's only so much you can do, but I also think it helps promote the idea of what teen council is, so that people know that this entity exists and what it's about. So I think you've done an exceptional job marketing it, exceptional job putting together the packets, and it was no easy task to go through and review such an outstanding group of applications. But again, I think we can, always keep working on trying to get the word out. At the end of the day, my understanding is all applications were accepted that were completed, and we reviewed them all 50 of them. And if there had been 150, we'd reviewed, I assume, 150. And so I also appreciate the way that all the commissioners had an opportunity to participate either in reviewing the initial applications or doing the interviews. So thank you. That was really a privilege.
Thank you for adding that. And Commissioner Dorlick, I see your hand up.
I was already unmuted. Sorry. Well, I just wanted to point out that 50 is and Kathy, if you could confirm this, I mean, is probably the lowest number of applicants we've had in quite a number of years. I mean, in the past, we've had as many as 169 applicants. So, so I think in the past, there has been a lot of knowledge of the program. There has been a lot of recognition because, literally we have had as many as 3 times as many. Now, should we, still continue to advertise it and to encourage it? Absolutely. But I think with everything that was happening in the last 24 to 30 months, I think that had some effect on the number of applicants, because historically it's been well over 130 or 150 applications received in most years. In the past, I'd say 10 years.
Yeah, you're correct. We have, although it has been a slow decline over several years, as it's gone down a little bit every year, the number right now is quite manageable. At the point that it was up in those really high numbers, I feel that the process became very punitive in order to screen, because there were too many applications. And so then that's the period of time. Oh, if you're in the wrong font, your font is too big, you went onto a second page, and it really didn't get to the crux of who the people were and why they wanted to be on the teen council. It became this exercise. And so I do understand, absolutely like to promote it. I want everybody who wants to apply to be a part of it, but I also think that it's a manageable process with that range of at least under 100.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Kathy. And I see Commissioner Ellicott-Pesek.
Yeah, sorry, one more thing. First of all, yes, I'm very happy it was 50, by the way. I don't know if I could volunteer to do it again if it was 169, but I do want to say that senior scholarship applications, as one example, are down all over the district. I've had multiple conversations at California High School and Doherty Valley High School where they're struggling to get people to submit the applications. And I think this just is part of the situation right now, as Will pointed out, post pandemic, re-engaging people. So I don't want to imply in any way that we haven't done our full diligence. We absolutely have. And I think we're fortunate to have had so many apply. People are disconnected and disengaged, and hopefully we'll get more engagement, but personally, maybe not 169 applications. But yeah, I do think that this is a bigger issue than just this in terms of a comparison of reduced participation.
Yeah, be careful what you wish. Be careful what you wish for, Heidi.
I was going to say, thank you very much for that clarification, and I appreciate that. So we have a motion on the floor that was amended, and so I think we're ready now. That has been seconded. We're ready for a vote.
And I would just want to repeat that the motion is to recommend that the 16 teen council members, 2 on the alternates, and 10 waitlists be forwarded to city council. Okay, Commissioner Dorlick,
Yes.
Commissioner Breed,
Aye.
Commissioner Mitra,
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellicott Pesic,
Aye.
Vice Chair Keniston Lee,
Aye.
Chair Oslin.
Aye.
Thank you. Passed.
Okay, item 9, staff reports, 9.1, recreation program and community services reports.
So as I'm sure you saw in your packet, we have our hefty rec report with all kinds of exciting things that the staff have been doing. Probably a couple things to note is our new community library manager for the San Ramon libraries. Francis Adibola Wilson has been named the next community library manager. And he's currently the library manager in Pinole and El Sobrante, and he's just come over to us now. So I believe he should be there this week, and we will plan to bring him to a commission and a city council meeting so you can all meet him and get to know him a little bit as we move forward. So that's exciting. The Trails Challenge is kicked off again. So if you haven't done the Trails Challenge before, once you sign up, then you can get the t-shirt. And that's the big thing to get. There's a limited number of t-shirts. So you go sign up for the Trails Challenge, do the challenge, you get the shirt, and you'll also get invited to a welcome party or a thank you party at Sports Basement. Does anybody have any questions on the rec report?
So I see Vice Chair Keniston Lee's hand is up.
I think it deserves actual mentioning the accommodation of the young lady who was hearing impaired in the lifeguard program. I love that we were able to accommodate her and that there was a concerted collaboration to make sure that she could participate in the lifeguard training, Kathy. That just was wonderful.
Good. We're pretty proud of our staff for figuring it out too, because it was a challenge. But I agree with you. I love that we were able to make that happen for her so that she could participate just the same as everybody else. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up. Without further comments or hands raised, we'll move on to item 9.2, maintenance and operations report.
I see that we still have Scott Rennick's in the audience. If you have any questions on the operations report, or I may be able to answer depending on if you have any questions, what it is. I don't think we have any questions. Does look like you have public comment, however.
All right, I'll open public comment.
Thank you. Let me take one moment here to bring up my timer. This is public comment. This is your opportunity to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I don't understand why the presenter didn't even present and then ask for questions on a report that wasn't even presented. It's really difficult for the public to follow if, you know, the commissioners were given something in private that we are not privy to, and then the presenter doesn't say anything. So please be kind and mindful of participation from the public needs information. Otherwise, the Brown Act doesn't work, and we can't ask intelligent questions. I also would like to have the public comment at the end of after commissioners' comments, so then we know exactly what you guys are saying, because, you know, before you make decisions, we should have the opportunity to intervene your decisions. And it's difficult when we don't even know what you're thinking. So please reverse your order and have public comment after commissioner comments. And if there is an agenda item for report, a proper presentation should be taken place. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. We have no further public comment.
All right, item 10, update on city council reports. Vice Chair Keniston Lee, bring us.
That's me. Okay, I'm going to try and make it quick. Okay, on March 22nd, there was a joint planning commission and city council meeting. And again, with any of these meetings, I'm going to give you really high level topics and you guys go out to the YouTube channel. And if you're really interested, that's where all the good content is. Okay. But it was a housing inventory study session. They discussed in detail what they call housing opportunity sites, which will be used to help us meet our RENA numbers and update our housing element. So there are approximately 26, 27 housing opportunity sites where they feel they can do allow for development to meet our RENA numbers. And then there was the last public hearing for redistricting which was approved last night as a consent item. Let's see, recognition of National Library Week, April 3rd through the 9th. So we just celebrated that. There were some city council appointments to the Arts Advisory Committee, Library Advisory Committee, and Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, which we're aware of. There was also the public hearing and adoption of the resolution renewing the San Ramon Valley Tourism Improvement District, which we all know as Discover San Ramon. The Library Advisory Committee gave their annual report, which we have already heard. There was an adoption of a minute order, which is basically the 2021 general plan annual report was received. It now actually goes to the state, that update, it's a requirement. And then there was also a resolution authorizing the continuation of hiring of Craig Stevens as the police chief. Okay, and then on March 29th, the City Council appointed folks to the Innovation and Technology Advisory Committee, the Open Space Advisory Committee, the Economic Development Advisory Committee, and a person to the Contra Costa County Advisory Council on Aging. I will not read the names because we don't have time, but you can find out and it'll be nice to welcome them. On last night, there was a special presentation declaring Saturday, April 16th, as Kathy mentioned, Arbor Day, and we're going to have an Arbor Day event. And Kathy, I was going to ask you, what time are they planting the tree exactly?
Great question. I want to say 9 o'clock at the beginning of the Parks Make Life Better Day, but I will look it up while you're continuing to talk.
In the past, Parks commissioners have been the ones who've actually dug some token dirt. So if you want to get your hands dirty, come on down. And then they adopted a resolution authorizing the city council to adopt what they call the local roadway safety plan. It's something that is required if you want to vie for certain funding to help improve traffic safety, specifically reducing traffic injuries and very severe injuries such as fatalities. And so they do an analysis of all of our roadways. They see where the problem areas are, and they identify that. And then they come up with what they call countermeasures and countermeasure priorities of things that we can do that are fairly cost effective to mitigate that. Kathy, were you going to jump in?
I'm not sure, so I'm going to get back to you on that.
Okay, I'm sorry. It looked like you want to say something. Yeah. So they identify high risk areas. It's really quite interesting. It's the evaluation analysis is done over the period of approximately 10 years. And we've had over 4,000 collisions over the course of about 10 years. I believe it's from 2009 to 2020. As you would imagine, some of our main arterial roads like Crow Canyon and Bollinger are seeing a good bulk of those collisions. And so if you want even more details, you guys can check out the city council meeting, but it is interesting and important to know as we're doing city planning. And then there was also an appointment of a couple of city council members who will join two of our planning commissioners on a mixed use ad hoc committee. So this is where they're going to look at what mixed use, how you define it, how it fits into the general plan and so forth, since we're in a general plan update process. They did hold a second public hearing last night. They introduced an ordinance to amend the West Side specific plan relative to the proposed senior assisted living facility off of San Ramon Valley Boulevard. So again, you can look at that and see what it's all about. And I think that was the gist of it. I did also actually, Chair Oslin, attend the goal setting workshop that the city council holds every year. And if ever you're interested in the bigger picture of the city and the goals that sort of frame what we do here in San Ramon, it's really quite interesting. And so that we obviously, Kathy was there representing our department, which is great. And I think we always make a strong showing. And we're always prevalent in the minds of our city council members. So that was it, city council.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Moving on to item 11, committee reports. I'd like to start with our student commissioner, Thanamala. We haven't heard much from you tonight, and it's nice to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to see you as well. So Teen Council was able to have a presentation from April Rivero, who has a coalition where she kind of combats prescription drug abuse. And so it was great to hear from her. I kind of know her a little bit from a different coalition as well. And then we voted on having a teen council participation on another Tri-Valley kind of association with other youth groups. So that's great for our younger commissioners. Yeah, our younger commissioners who weren't there on the first one. And then finally, we just had updates on our annual report as well as our goals. And me and Anya have basically just tried to plan our, the next steps for when she takes over office. Thank you.
Succession plan.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for your report. I'd like to move on to Commissioner Lopez Lucy. Your committee reports.
Excuse me. Thank you. I don't have much to add because a lot of what I have on the planning has already gone to City Council, which you've heard some of it. So my report will be very brief. The housing element that we have to have and for this upcoming is 5,517 for RENA to meet the goals. And like I said, like Heidi had said, they do have the majority of those places that the staff recommended, well, staff did, and then brought it to the planning, and they are still discussing on some issues, but the majority of it will be in the Bishop Ranch areas where the majority will be, but they are, looking at different shopping centers where that they'll have maybe some housing. Some of it is very interesting. Some of it was like maybe part of the Country Club shopping center could be retail, where the Crow Canyon Theater is on San Ramon Valley Boulevard. Some of that could possibly be. Another one was where Home Depot is, where Staples is in that area, which they're questioning. But those are just some things that they're doing so that they'll be reviewing them. And then eventually the city council will then pass that report on to the state, and they actually then say if they're okay or not. So we don't actually have the final. It's the state that apparently has the final. The housing of the El Nido house, which was just heard, and that will come back, and they'll have to have a third meeting. So the planning commission will get it and make a decision to actually whatever, and then pass it again to the city council, because there has to be 3 hearings and all this. So that was generally it's housing is what they're just basically on. I don't have any new things that are coming to the city or whatever, but it's basically planning has been very deep into housing. So again, like Heidi said, if you want to have more detail, go to the planning commissions because they are lengthy. So, but you can get a lot more detail there. EDAC only meets quarterly, so I don't have any report for that. So that didn't meet. So thank you. And that concludes my report.
Great. Thank you very much. How about Commissioner Dorlick?
Thank you, Chair. So the Arts Advisory Committee meeting in March, had a very vigorous and detailed discussion on the second iteration for the library public art piece. And there was a vote to move it forward to the commission. So I would surmise we would see it next month, since that was March 16th. Probably didn't get time to go through staff and get on the agenda for this month. Very innovative design. This is the second design that the artist has come back with. They are very experienced in public art, have created very large displays locally in Jack London Square. So if you want to go take a look at some of their art, you can just head down 680 to 24, take that 980, get off at 12th Street and make your way to Jack London Square. Yep. And so it was a very innovative. So I'll leave it at that. We'll probably have a presentation and a discussion led by Adam Chow next month. And then there was a discussion of the next 5-year cultural art plan. And that's a work in progress. So a major part of that, a major goal is the Art Summit. So it's scheduled for sometime in the third quarter, potentially. And it is also scheduled to be on a more regular basis than the last one we had, as Kathy mentioned. I didn't think it was 10 years ago, but maybe it was. But we're looking to do it a little more frequently and engage the entire Tri-Valley, as we should be doing editorial with our promotion of the city. So that would conclude my report.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Mitra, anything to add around committee reports?
No, because both of my committees, like library as well as innovation, both are quarterly, and we didn't have any meeting last month, so no.
Okay, great. And how about you, Commissioner Breed? Anything to add for your committees?
No, I have nothing to add. Thanks.
Okay, I'll get you next time. How's that?
I know what. Now I have one to go to. So yeah, I'm covering it for you. So I will have a report next time.
Steve is my backup for the Senior Advisory Committee. So he's going to fill in for me for next month. So let me start with them. Had our meeting on the 4th and elected new officers. And we have a new chair for the committee. We've got new committee liaison appointments, and they talked about all the upcoming events at the Acosta Seniors and Community Center. And they are going to wait until June to return to in-person meetings as well. So that was what they talked about. And then I attended the Open Space Advisory Committee meeting this past Monday, and Commissioner Breed will be filling in for me next month. We discussed the returning of in-person. They're going to wait also until June. The Open Space Advisory Committee also talked about the Art and Wind Festival and having a table there to discuss all the different services and committee involvement and what they're doing as far as the open space preservation plan. And we talked about the trail signage with Smart Outdoor. We received a presentation around that, which we were introduced in both May and Kathy's presentation for our accomplishments and actions for the coming year. And we reviewed the 2022 Open Space Preservation Plan, and the committee approved it to move forward. We will be receiving a presentation about this from the Open Space Advisory Committee, I believe in May, and then it will continue through planning and then through the City Council. So that's what is going on with the Open Space Advisory Committee. And that is, I believe, concludes. No, I want to check with Commissioner Ellicott-Pesek. I missed you. Do you have any reports for your committees?
The only committee that was in session in this last month was Teen Council, and Student Commissioner Thanamala did an excellent job describing it. I'm just thrilled and appreciative to get to be a fly on a wall and listen to them do their work.
And we always appreciate commissioners' input and just present at our meetings.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you. Thank you both. All right. Item 12, commission member items.
Chair Oslin, we do have someone in the audience that would like to speak on behalf of the committee reports. Do you mind if we bring her in?
Sure.
Thank you. One moment. Let me share my screen to bring up my timer. Hello, speaker. This is your opportunity to talk.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm wondering if you can please clarify if there was a special meeting that took place earlier at 5 p.m. And if there was, why wasn't there any update on that meeting at this meeting? Because for some reason, the deputy city clerk did not give that 5 p.m. agenda to the public 3 days beforehand. I didn't get that agenda until 5:17, which is already 17 minutes past 5. So I was under the assumption that perhaps it was a special committee out of this particular commission that went there and would have reported back to the public. Otherwise, I don't understand why the public would be deliberately shielded, so to speak, from that special meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no further public comment.
Moving on to item 12, commission member items. Does anyone have anything for the good of the group to share? I see Kathy.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow back up with Vice Chair Keniston Lee's question in regards to Arbor Day. The event, which is a Parks Makes Life Better Day, begins at 9. However, the tree usually gets planted at about 10 or 10:30. So that's why I wasn't positive on that. So it'll go, the event itself goes from 9 till about noon, tree planting around 10 or 10:30.
And would you remind us again of the date, please?
That is this Saturday, April 16th.
Thanks, Kathy.
You're welcome.
And I see Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Yes, I'd just like to invite everyone to the sheep shearing that will be held on Saturday, the 23rd. And that begins at 11 and continues until, let's see, 12, 1, 2, 3, I think 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The sheep shearing will be done probably starting, it won't, go all day, but so there'll be specific areas as long as, there are sheep to shear. So I probably wouldn't come at 2:30 or thereabouts because all the sheep will be sheared if you're looking for that. Because Patsy's very, very worried that people will be coming and there won't be any sheep shearing, but we have advertised that it will be, not all done at once, but it will be, probably finished before, but there'll be plenty for you to do afterwards because there will be spinners and weavers, and there's a petting, for the small children, a petting, and there's crafts, and there's games to play for the youth. There'll be 2 quilters events there. There'll be a beekeeper there giving information about bees and etc. And of course, you can always come and have a hot dog and some chips. And even early in the morning, we're going to have donuts, and of course there'll be cookies and etc. So, and we'll even be having an ice cream cart that will be going around this year, so that there'll be a couple of types of ice cream that you can have, pay. Of course, they will be, you'll have to pay a fee, but that's something new. And of course, water will be always going around also. So it's very detailed, and I think we're ready and set to go. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of people. Hopefully it'll just be a nice day. So I think that is the main thing. Oh, the other thing, if you go to the San Ramon Community Center, there is student art hanging in the Lindsay Dirk Museum. That will be there until the 19th, and then it will be taken down so that there will be, then the winners will have a reception on the 4th in Sunday afternoon, that they'll get to show off their paintings, have their pictures taken with the mayors or their representatives, and then they get to take their own art home, and then the art 600 pieces will be delivered back to the individual schools. So I think you'll be very impressed if you see the student art this year. It's very, very good, but it was a hard decision for the judges when you have 600 pieces submitted. So it was very successful. So I just encourage you to see what our youth can really do.
Carol, what time is that reception?
The reception starts at 2 o'clock on Sunday, the 24th.
Okay.
So you're all welcome to attend.
Great.
But it would be nice if you let me know if you are going to attend, because we do have refreshments. So we want to be prepared for everyone.
Great. Thank you. Wonderful thing.
Carol, when is that that sheep thingy that on the first floor?
The sheep shearing is at the farm.
When is that?
It is on
April 23rd.
Saturday, the 23rd.
23rd. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it'd be good time to go around 2 o'clock.
Oh, no, I'm saying don't wait until 2 o'clock.
Oh, don't wait. Okay.
If you want to see the sheep shearing.
Right. That's what I want to see. I want to show my kids there. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. If you want to, you'd go earlier, I would recommend.
Yeah, if you go later, it's going to be a close shave.
Great. Well, our next meeting will be via Zoom on May 11th. And if there's no further feedback, item 13 will adjourn the meeting. Have a good evening, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great week.